Well, hey guys, thanks for tuning into my channel, My Small Town Home. I'm Sonia, and today's tutorial is going to be to make a little gnome stump house. This one actually has two little window holes, and I have not put the windows in yet. I've made the door, but I have not installed it. But today's tutorial is just to build the framework of this. So, let me give you the items list to make this stump. Alright, so what you are going to need for this is some cardstock or cardboard. If you're going to use cardstock, you're going to need 2 layers for each wall, and we need 3 walls to make a nice little round. So you'll need 6 pieces of cardstock or some cardboard, and it's going to cut the cardboard at 8 inches high, and if you're going to do a full run all the way around, you'll want 25 inches in length, and then you'll want to do a vertical cut to cut the side of the corrugated cardboard so that you can actually bend it. But we're going to use cardstock today. You're going to need some aluminum foil. You're going to need a full bottle of glue. You're going to need a little bowl to put the glue and water in. It's going to be a 50-50 mixture. You will need some masking tape. You'll need some kind of a cutting implement. You'll need some super cheap paper towels. You don't want the expensive ones. In fact, this one is a little bit too thick. It's a 2-ply, and you actually want it to be single ply, so I will be peeling them into a single ply. You will also need some kind of newspaper. Alright, so first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to cut or tear your newspaper into strips. Doesn't matter how wide, just tear or cut them into strips. So open your bottle of glue, add 2 of these in here. Alright, so now we're going to take 2 pieces of cardstock, tape them together, all 3 pieces. Tape them end to end. No measurement needed. You judge how wide or how big a circumference you want your tree stump to be. But tape all the way up. Next, tape it into a circle. Now, decide where you want your doors and windows and how many you want. If you want to draw it and then cut it, you sure can. I'm just going to cut it from the inside. That you like my content and you want me to make more of these wonderful tutorials. And if you want up-to-date notifications when I upload a brand new video, go ahead and hit that bell. And in the drop-down menu, choose all notifications. Now, let's get back to that tutorial. Then cut your windows to however many you want. If you want one in the back, you can go ahead and put one and then have it a solid one, tree trunk, but I am going to actually paper mache most of it, and then I'm going to cut an opening in the back so that I can have access inside of the stump. So, now that we're done making all of the cuts, we are now going to start to paper mache around the outside edge of it. Alright, so we have our glue with water, and then our paper mache here, and our strips of paper. I kind of out of the camera shot because they're like right underneath the camera. So what you do, however you want to do it, I'm going to tear mine in half to start with, and just go ahead and paper mache. If you would like to help support my channel, go ahead and click on the link down below to buymeacoffee.com to help me buy the craft supplies and help me buy the coffee to keep me awake to make these tutorials. If you would like a shout out from me from buymeacoffee.com, just leave me a message. Tell me about yourself, and if you don't mind me reading your message on video. Okay, so the first layer is done. I turn it upside down and put it on top of a piece of wax paper. Now, if you're going to be using something like your little self-healing mat, you're definitely going to want to have something barricading that. If you're going to be doing it on something that you don't mind to have your glue on, you don't need the wax paper. But turn it upside down, and what you do is push it out so that it's the shape you want of your stump. If you don't want your stump all the way round, then don't push it back into a round form. Once this is dry, you will paper mache the bottom and then turn it over and do the same thing. Make it to where you want it while it's drying. So it's going to dry just like that. And because I have it in front of my AC, it'll probably dry pretty quick. So put it in front of some fans or your air conditioner or something that'll blow it to dry it quick, because that'll give the cardstock less time to really warp. If you're using cardboard, it's a little bit more sturdy, or you can cover the entire thing with masking tape. I don't want to use that much masking tape. It's not cheap anymore, so I do it this way. Just turn it over, put it in front of a fan, and let it dry. So I'll be back when this is all dry. Alright, so I've had the fan on it. It's dry, but it's still real flexible. So now what I want to do is, this is my door, so I want the top of the stump to be at the front half, and the back half I want to be able to cut off so that I can have access to it. So what I'm going to do is take some masking tape, and I'm going to pull it over the top of it until I reach the level where I want my top to end. Now I'm going to turn it over, and on the inside I'm going to place some aluminum foil. This will just make it a little bit stronger. You can also use cardstock or even cardboard if you want, but I'm going to use aluminum foil. Now tape down the aluminum foil from the inside. Alright, so now that it's encased, turn it over and tape this part to the top. Alright, so the top is now done. And you're going to flip it over. And you're going to do the Mod Podge on the inside. And then once the inside is done, do the outside. You're going to Mod Podge. Alright, so now the first layer is done for the entire thing, including the top. So now what you want to do is you want to dry it completely. And you have a few choices. You can just let it air dry. It might take a couple days. You want it completely dry before you do your next layer. So you can either put it outside in the sunshine and let the sun dry it. You can let it just sit, or you can do like what I do, is I just have this little tabletop fan. And I put it on its highest setting, and I just let it blow on this. And usually within about an hour to hour and a half, it is pretty much dry. Now, just depending upon how thick of a layer you put on there, depends on how long it's going to take to dry. So remember, 100% dry, and then put another layer, and you're going to put about 3 to 4 layers of newspaper onto this so that it is a nice, decently stiff item. This one here, if you look at it, has about 5 layers. The very, very bottom down here is actually, to make the legs, is aluminum foil. But the body of itself, right in here, is actually just the cardboard, and I just put in like 5 layers. So we're gonna let this dry, and then we will do the additional layers. Alright guys, first layer is dry, and so what I did, I recorded this, but unfortunately I lost the footage. So what I did after it dried was I cut a hole in the back, and with that piece that I cut, I placed it on the bottom. This is the piece here. Placed it on the bottom, and I taped it in. Taped it all in on the inside. And then I had a small little gap right here in the front, and I put some aluminum foil and taped it all in. And you can see just, and you just see just a squeak of that aluminum foil right there. And taped it all in. So I now have a stump that has a front door, a top, and a bottom, and it's open that I can get in there, and I can put little miniatures in there if I'm going to build a little kitchen and a little bedroom and a little living area. And who knows what else I'm going to build in there, but I'm super excited about this one. So next on to this is to do another couple of full layers of newspaper, including not the floor, because I'm going to do something a little bit different on the floor. I am going to cover, I'm going to do 1 layer, and I'm going to cover the tape, but I'm going to do something slightly different on the floor. Rather than it be all bumpy, I'm going to have strips of cardstock, and I'm going to paint it like it's wood, and we'll get to that in a different video. But I'm going to finish this off and get all the layers on here. I'm going to do 2 to 3 more layers. I'm going to take the aluminum foil, and I'm going to start building the root system that goes from the stump to the ground. So I'll get started on that, and then I'll be back when I get 3 more layers of this on and dried, and then we can build the root system. Alright, several layers in, mostly dry. The bottom is not quite dry, but I'm going to be working just on the outside, building the root system and some of the sides up with some aluminum foil. So let me do this. I'm going to mute it, run some music, because this gets really loud, and you can just watch me put it on there and tape it on. All right, I got all of the details done and they're all taped up, and so now it's ready for the next layer of newspaper and tape and glue. So let's get started on that. Alright, so next up is you take your strips of paper towel. I have separated them into single ply, and you're going to crumple it up and lay it on to your stump. So you'll soak your paper towel. Don't soak it too much, because it will stick together and you will not be able to do anything with it. So, and then you'll crumple it up. It'll crumple up quite nicely almost on its own. Anywhere that you don't have any kind of moisture, go ahead and just wet it up. Alright guys, it is now completely dry, and so we are ready for paint. This is where all the magic happens. So you're going to want a little container of water, and you're going to want some paint. What you want to do is basically make a wash. It doesn't matter what color you use. I'm using black. You can use brown. You can use dark green. Just hold a little bit of the paint for touch-ups. Then you're going to want to take a chip brush, and this is a chip brush from, if I'm right, it's from Home Depot. You take a little chip brush and you stir this all into a really nice thin slurry wash of whatever color paint you're going to want to use. And then you will take your stump and you'll just paint it on. Now do be careful when you're painting this, because this is thin and it will splatter everywhere. Your other choice is to spray paint it. If you have issues with getting into the really small areas, take a smaller brush and go in there. Try not to leave any white behind. Now, you're going to have to wait until your paint, your wash is dry, and then you will see where you missed, and you can go back and retouch that up. You can either use the wash or you can use the paint that you didn't use all up to catch all the small spots. Alright guys, first layer is done and dried. A little bit of white here, and I'll paint that a little bit later, but you do see that there's some little bits of white in there, but I'm not really going to worry about it. First layer on the inside is also done, but we're going to work on the outside. The inside will actually be another whole video. So now we want to add some texture to this, and we want to make it like this. It has different texture to it. So what we're going to do is take our little bit of wax paper here, and we're going to grab a little bit of paint, put a little bit of paint on the wax paper. Doesn't have to be a whole lot. Going to take a little brush. We're going to do a little bit of dry painting. So I'm going to grab this and really super lightly you're going to pull this through. You don't want a whole lot of paint. Let me tip this up so you guys can see it. The inside is still a little wet, but not horrible. So basically pulling it it is all painted and it is ready for the next step. And if you want to see what that next step is going to be, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. And that way you'll get notified each time I upload one of these videos on this series of this tree stump house. So if you want to see the next step, head on down below and click those little notification bells. And until next time, bye!